شكرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. شكرا دكتورة حياة على الدعوة وعلى التقديم. حقيقة أنا سعيد جدا بتقديم هذه المحاضرة لجامعة الأميرة نورة حول موضوع يعتبر من أهم المواضيع الآن في مجال التعليم وإدارة الجودة والاعتماد الأكاديمي، وهو استخدام الذكاء الاصطناعي. يعني كنا منذ سنة وسنتين نقول الذكاء الاصطناعي التوليدي، الآن أصبحنا نتكلم على الذكاء الاصطناعي الوكيلي، ما يسمى بالأيجنتيك AI. وللحقيقة الآن يقوم ب تحولات كبيرة جدا، ليس فقط في مجال التعليم لكن في العديد من المجالات الأخرى، منها المجال الطبي، المجال القانوني، المجال الشرعي، المجال الأدبي. فخلال هذه المحاضرة إن شاء الله سوف أقوم بمقدمة بسيطة حول الذكاء الاصطناعي وكيف وصلنا إلى الذكاء الاصطناعي الوكيلي، ثم سأقوم بتقديم بعض التطبيقات في مجال الجودة والاعتماد الأكاديمي.
بروفسور الله يسعدك، إذا ممكن تخلي الشرح باللغة الإنجليزية لأنه معنا زميلات ما يحكوا عربي.
تمام بإذن الله. Okay, so let me just get started from this slide. So the slides are in Arabic, so I'm going to talk in English. So if you observe our daily life, we are more hooked into mobile phones, social networks, networking, and so on. And at the same time, we are seeing more and more machines that are currently learning. This is making now, it's like we're starting to have a learning gap with respect to the machines. And several questions are arising, such as, for example, whether the machine are going to replace human. And we can see that machines actually started to replace human in some of the fields, not completely, but we are seeing like a trend of human having or machines having similar human capabilities. And this actually raised a lot of questions, whether we're going to be dependent on these machines or these machines are going to be more kind of supportive. So this is something really very debatable. But at the end, the technology is here to support us, to provide us, much better productivity and reduce actually the execution time of tasks that we usually take long to do them. So this is similar to the calculators when they were introduced back in 1988. So many people at that time thought that these calculators are going to also replace human in mathematics and so on. There was also like a manifestation, I think in New York, of math professors that wanted to ban the use of calculators. But you can see that calculators are being used until today. So the technology is here, it's pervasive. It's going to be integrated whether we like it or we didn't like it. And this is why we need to cope with this technology, and we need to look at how it can be beneficial for us, and we try also to prevent the limitations and drawback of like over-reliance and so on. So there is also an important thing is that learning is different from education. Okay. So currently people can learn without even going to schools, without even going to universities. We have a lot of information that can be available on the internet, either on YouTube. We can learn, for example, from YouTube or from massive online course platforms like Coursera or edX, or even now large language models. They provide an excellent alternative to learning. So the learning gap becomes much smaller across countries, across continent, because we have a lot of technology that is able to provide the right information anytime and anywhere. So if we look, for example, 50 years ago or 30 years ago, people were dependent on academic institutions to learn. But now this dependency is going very, very small. And this is why all the universities have to think about what will be their role in a couple of years. If these universities are going just to follow the same traditional approach, I don't think that this is really very sustainable. And there is a need to cope with the technology to see how we can integrate the technology. We need also to redefine the role of the teacher. Okay, the teacher is not now like it was before. The main role is transferring the knowledge, because the knowledge can come from everywhere. But you can think about the teacher more about mentoring, supervising, guiding the students, and because the knowledge is available. But we must know how to guide these students and how to mentor them to effectively use that knowledge. Yeah, so this actually shows probably the dilemma between traditional teaching and future teaching with using AI. As already mentioned, AI now is able to provide even personalized learning to every student. If I want to learn any new information, I can just open any large language model like ChatGPT, Claude, or Grok. I can ask any question. I can learn in my style. So the dependency between students of the instructor and the students is becoming much less than before. Of course, let's try first to understand what is artificial intelligence and how did we reach the agentic AI era right now. Of course, AI, if we look back, it started back in the 50s, and the origin of AI was based on what we call rule-based approaches. It was based on formal logic or kind of static rules, if-then statements. And this is what we call determinism, because people thought at that time that we are able actually to build complete systems with all the truth, with all the knowledge that we can acquire. And that has worked to some extent for some disciplines, and it has taken momentum with what we know as expert systems, أنظمة الخبراء, which basically try to embed rules into these systems and then making inference out of these rules. This is what we call the formal logic, ولا المنطق الرمزي. However, this approach was proven to be very limited. And this is not surprising, because we as human beings, we don't have an absolute knowledge. العلم المطلق كله عند الله عز وجل. So we are not able to have systems that are complete and sound. And this was actually mathematically proven back in 1930s with Gödel, who has proven that if we have a complete system, it cannot be completely true. So if we know all the facts, some of the facts will not be correct, obviously, and vice versa. And this is why later on AI has moved to the concept of uncertainty management, or dealing with the uncertainty. And from this we have machine learning, we have stochastic models that has contributed to what we know today as large language models. So let me just give you some intuition about this kind of uncertainty and how we can make confidence based on uncertain situations. Now, if I tell you, for example, try to read this word for Arabic speaking people. Of course, I think now everyone has made a word out of this. We can read it as khubz, we can read it as khayr, we can read it as khabar, depending on how we put the points. So now I am uncertain what is this word about, because I don't have any context. So when there is no context, when I can see only 3 letters, I can think about different type of words. And you can see now I am in uncertain situation about what is the real word from these 3 letters. However, if we put more context, like for example this sentence, اشتريت, and then I have the same word, and then I add وأكلته. So here obviously any Arabic speaking person that has some kind of knowledge about the Arabic corpus, he will say this is 100% the word bread, khubz. And now you can see that the context can help you reduce this uncertainty to have more confidence. And this is the way how we can actually teach machines. And large language models were built with this concept in mind. So let me give you a few other examples. For example, here, من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل. So obviously here the word is خيرا أو ليصمت. Here the second sentence, اشترى الخطاط. This is obviously حبرا, the ink, ليكتب مخطوطات, وهكذا. So based on this conceptual understanding from the context, we can actually teach machine by providing them a huge amount of information, what we call corpus, and they can actually read the dependencies between the different words. Okay, so let me make you an introduction about the fabulous technology that is called transformers, which has contributed to the development of large language models. So basically, how transformers actually work, they go through different blocks. So if you know, or maybe you don't know, that any machine learning cannot process words. Like for example, we can read this word, the cat sat on or القطة جلست على, and I would like to complete the missing word over here. So since every machine learning model cannot understand characters, we need to convert this word or these characters into vectors of numbers. Of course, these vectors of numbers, they are going to be constructed in a way that they will capture the semantic meaning of the word. Of course, this is something that is called embedding. It's kind of a complicated process, but just have in mind that we are able using AI to convert every word into a sequence of numbers which we call vectors, and these vectors will represent a particular word into a corpus. Of course, there has been several years of research in order to reach this level of what we call semantic understanding of the language. And now based on this word, so we're going to try to extract what we call features, al-khasa'is, using the concept of attention modules. So the attention is basically based on what I have introduced over here, because the attention, what we will do, it will try to capture the relationship between every word and any other word in the sentence. This is how we can extract the feature. الخصائص يعني العلاقة ما بين الكلمات في داخل الجملة. But this is what we do here. We actually try to capture the relationship between the different words, and we build what we call the attention weights أو معاملات الانتباه. So once we extract this attention, we're going to make a summary of them. Okay, we're going to make a summary of them, and we will represent all of these just as one vector. Okay, and this vector will have a full understanding about the whole sentence. And finally, based on this, so all what we do in transformers, we are going to find what is the next most likely word in that sentence. Okay, so let me just go to that step. So we have all the possible words in a dictionary, and based on all these transformations, we're going to have, we say, for example, القطة جلست على السجادة. Oh, this is a very likely word that could come after this sentence. Or على الأرض, on the ground, or on the chair, and so on. So there are different possibilities, and here using the concept of dealing with the uncertainty, we're going to derive several probabilities about what is the most likely word that will come into the sentence. This is how we build actually large language models like ChatGPT and others. So of course that was tremendous milestone, but it was not sufficient because these large language models does not know, cannot execute any kind of tasks. They are able just to generate the next possible word, and for this they were trained actually into more specific tasks which we call the fine-tuning process. So for example, if I want to let these large language models respond to the questions, I'm going to train it with several questions and I give the possible answers. So imagine that we have data sets of hundreds of thousands of questions and answers. This large language model will also learn how to respond to these type of questions. So that was good, that's another improvement, which we call the fine-tuning, but at the end, the response will only be based on the static knowledge of the LLM. And for this reason, and there are hallucinations, يمكن يصير له هلوسة. So it can respond with something completely incorrect. So what was the next step after ChatGPT and large language models? We say, okay, let's not use these LLMs as data sources, but we will use them as a reasoning engine. So for example, if I want to ask a question, I can use a technique that is called retrieval augmented generation. And when we ask a question, we're going to search from existing documents at what we call the authentic data sources. What is the information that is related to that question? And then instead of sending only the question to the large language model, I will send the question and also the document that potentially contains responses to these questions. And from here, we can make a better alignment about the authentic sources, the question, and the generation of the large language model. This technique is actually made an excellent milestone because now it has reduced the hallucination to tremendously very low percentages, and we can reliably have like chatbots that can respond to any questions related to university, related to an institution, or related to any kind of topic. And afterwards, let's say that RAG is a first step toward what we call agentic AI. So we try to define agents, what we call in Arabic الوكلاء, وكلاء الذكاء الاصطناعي. So how did we extend this? We in order to build an AI agent, we need to add several more capabilities. So one of the things that we need to add in agents is the concept of memory, because when you ask a question, the LLM doesn't memorize anything. It just generates you a response. So to build an agent, we need to add a memory. It can be, for example, a database where we store all previous conversations. And using this, the large language model will be able to remind or to remember the past conversations and will help to provide you much better answers aligned with the previous conversations. Because without a memory, for example, you ask a question and then you ask another follow-up question. If we don't have a memory, the second question will be completely independent from the first one, from the perspective of the large language model. But if I add a memory, in this case, the large language model will take the follow-up question as a continuation of the previous question. So agents are also able to make planning, because reasoning usually you should not respond immediately, especially when you have a complex problem. Like, for example, you want to make the compliance of a complete program in education. You cannot just send the whole program to the LLM and say, okay, is this compliant? It has to go through different steps. And for this, we need to have a planning. So a planning capability that will allow the agent to derive what are the steps to solve this complex problem. Also, we will allow the agent to use external tools. For example, connecting to external database, making internet search about missing information. And finally, the AI agent should also be able to do inference, or what we call الاستدلال. So to make inference based on all the data that is collected. So this is a very simple example on how to define a simple agent to write a research paper. Okay, of course, this is a very basic workflow. I didn't want to complicate it a lot. But for example, here we can think about an agent. You will give an idea of a paper. So the agent is going to take this idea. Maybe it will request more information. It will make a planning. For example, I will make the outline of the paper. And then I will send this outline to the ACT node, which is responsible for the writing. After we do the writing, we will send it to a reviewer node to check whether the written text is actually satisfies the requirements and the original idea. So we can go through several rounds of fixes, reviews, and so on until finally submitting the paper. And of course here, obviously, we need a contextual memory, we need an iterative refinement, we need also resilience to errors, and keep all the session alive until the task is completed. So that was a very brief overview about agentic AI and the technology itself. And now we come to the core of this presentation, which is about how can we leverage all these AI capabilities in teaching, learning, quality management, and academic accreditation. So, of course, the AI can be used from different perspectives in an educational ecosystem. It can be used from the students, which we call the personalized learning. It can be used for teaching. Okay, so the student actually can use ChatGPT to learn. I actually ask my students, when you don't understand something in the course, of course, they can contact us, they can come to office hours or send emails. But also, the LLMs are usually excellent in explaining difficult things into a very easy way. And everyone has its own way of learning. We as teacher, we try to teach all the students probably in the way that we see it appropriate most of the time. But maybe some of the students, they have different ways on. So AI actually can provide very customized experience for the students. So for faculty members, and I'm going to show a lot of real-world examples. It's very helpful in the design of courses, in, for example, doing the alignment with accreditation standards. For example, if you want to make accreditation with ABET, with ANSI AAA, the AI is really an excellent tool to do so. And for the generation of the content, I basically use AI now to generate the content of my courses, either based on existing textbook or just ask AI to generate me a content that, of course, I make the oversight of the content that is generated until it represents what I want to present to the students. And also it helps in analyzing the performance of the course, analyzing the performance of the students, and even of the program if we want. Another very important and more challenging utilization of AI is in the institution automation. So we can automate all the clerical work that we are suffering as faculty member into academic institutions and universities. Like, for example, doing these kind of the quality reports, the course folders, the accreditation reports, the assessment of the exams, the course learning outcome evaluations, and all these different type of things that take a long time. And unfortunately, we don't do that very accurately. I know how things are happening in the universities because the main problem is actually this data is huge, and our capability as human to process a huge data is small. And this is where AI and computers actually excel, is in the speed and also in the productivity. We can also use chatbots to provide, for example, academic advising, to provide support to faculty members, to provide any kind of information about the academic institution. So let me show some examples, for example, on how we can use the artificial intelligence for the accreditation or for the generation of the content. So this is just a very simple demo, but I'm going to show you a complete system that we are building right now, which shows a course description. Imagine that you want to make a course description, and this is something that we usually do, and you write it in some of the ways. But later on, you want to make this course description aligned with a certain standard, with ABET standard, for example, or ANSI AAA standard. So I can ask the AI, this is my course description. I can just focus on the content of this description without too much wasting time on the writing. And then I can ask the AI to check what are the gaps with respect to the ABET requirements. And then it can automatically write me a proposed revised description. So here it will say there is a lack of explicit mention of specific learning outcomes. It doesn't address the application of engineering principles. There is a lack of ethics, stuff like this. Now, if you look at this second revised description, is much better than this one. And, it just does it in seconds. Another thing that we also lose a lot of time, and I have seen a lot of course learning outcome development that are not aligned with the standards developed by teachers, is, developing effective course learning outcomes. So here we can use AI. Actually, I can provide the course description to the AI, and then it can develop these course learning outcomes according to the Bloom taxonomy. It can make it map to the skills. Of course, we should not over rely. Maybe it contains some mistakes, but instead, imagine that you want to develop these 4 learning outcomes. I think the fastest professor is going to take maybe 30 minutes, 1 hour, but now we can do it in just 10 seconds. And you can spend maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes reading this in detail, making changes, and so on, based on your preference. But in most of the cases, I have observed that AI really provides excellent type of outputs. Of course, this is not affordable for everyone, because there is an important skill in artificial intelligence which is called prompt engineering. So sometimes people say, I don't get the best outcome from AI. The problem is probably not from the AI, but the way on how you ask AI. And this is what we call prompt engineering. And this is why we're currently developing platform that will embed these prompts, okay? And from the user perspective, it just need to provide your course description or whatever you have, and the AI will take care of course, the platform with its prompt engineering, with agentic workflow, is going to take care about doing the right task to minimize the revision rounds and the need for revisions. Another difficult task is to make also the mapping between course learning outcomes and program learning outcomes, or course learning outcomes and student outcomes. So if you have time later on, maybe you can go back to the video and read the course description here and read the course learning outcomes and its mapping with the student outcome. It's really perfect and amazing. And it doesn't only make the mapping, but provide you a justification. And this is one of the most tedious tasks when we try to develop a course, is to make this mapping. Why? Because you usually have 7 to 8 program learning outcomes, and you have 4 to 6 course learning outcomes. Reading all of this, putting all this in the brain, it takes a long time. It takes a long time. This is if you want to do it right, it's going to take a long time. But here with AI, it's going to make you a proposal, and then you can read this proposal if you are fine with it, or you can even provide additional requirements, and the AI can help in speeding up the decision-making process. So at the end, we don't let AI actually decide on our behalf, but when I get this feedback, I'm going to read it, and if it is most likely correct, so I will approve it myself. This is what we say, human oversight. We need to make an oversight about. So because if you over-rely on the AI, maybe sometimes it's going to make you something wrong or hallucinations, which is now, to be honest, less unlikely than before. But in any case, we need also to understand what's written here. I cannot just copy paste it, and if someone asks me, what's here? I don't know, that was generated by AI. This is not a good approach. It's always important to read carefully what AI is writing and approve it or modify it as per the need. So just use AI as a helper for you. And going beyond these small demos, I have a much broader vision, is what we call self-driving universities. Okay, in the sense that we can actually allow some kind of autonomy to some of the university processes to reduce or to save time, to save cost, and improve productivity. And just to make you an analogy about self-driving cars. Now, self-driving cars, they come with different level of autonomies. We have level of autonomy, level 1 to level 5. Of course, level 1, it's completely human-driven, and this is what we have most of the cars right now. And level 5, it's completely autonomous vehicle. And let's say that currently we didn't reach 100% level 5 in autonomous driving, even Tesla and this type of self-driving cars. So, and in between we have level 2, which is, for example, cruise control. Level 3, we allow, for example, the car to drive into highways. Level 4, we can allow the car to drive within the city and detect pedestrians and so on. So we can actually make the same projection into universities. I can, for example, automate academic advising. I can automate a little bit the course generation or course approvals or course compliance. There are so many things. Generation of report related to attendances, generated report related to the course. But the main challenge here is that we need to have a comprehensive and complete information system. And this is actually the main and the biggest issue that I'm seeing at the universities. They have information system, but it's kind of fragmented systems. You can have a system for student attendance, another one for learning management, like for example, e-learning or Moodle or Coursera, that's another one. You can have another one for faculty portfolio and everything related to faculty. For registration, sometimes it's a different system. This is why when we want to implement AI into existing university infrastructure, we find a lot of challenges. It's the inconsistency of the data. And I remember sometimes you can ask about one information from different departments, and you will get conflicting outputs. And people who have done accreditation or quality work, they 100% went through the same situation. You ask, for example, how many students we have. If you ask the registration, I'm going to give you a number. The statistics number can give another number, and that's actually kind of the standard, because there is no single repository where all the information is consistent. And this is why the first step that I try to take for self-driving universities is to have a comprehensive system that actually gather all the information. And we have a partnership with the university in Tunisia where we try to run a pilot with them. And as you can see, we provide all the information about this, all the users, whether they are students, faculty, administrators, the organization, all the buildings, all the classrooms, all the programs, courses. You can think about any kind of information, and it's there. And based on this, we can build study plans. We can build, we can create terms. We can create enrollments. We can track attendance. Everything is in centralized information system. So you can see now, for example, these are the programs that we have, and this is a master in data science. You can, everything is centralized, and everything is linked to the courses, everything is linked to the AI, and we can manage different versions. For example, if you want to change a course description, you can maintain version control, because now how I'm seeing course description are being made, you take the course description Word document, you send it by email to the committee, and you get back and forth. This creates inconsistency. We need to have a single repository where all data is collected, and then we can build our AI agent. But making AI on fragmented systems that have inconsistent data usually will give you only a partial benefit on how AI can be used. Okay, so you can have your study plans, you can have what are students associated with the study plan, which you can track all the kind of details at student level and so on. So in terms of exams, also one of the hardest tasks of faculty members, especially those who are teaching a large number of students, is to make the assessment of exams. And when I say assessment, is not only evaluating an exam, but also assess the course learning outcomes. Now, if you want to follow the standards of NCAA, of ABET, you have to assign course learning outcome for every question, and then you go for every question, for every student answer, and you have a direct assessment for that question in every exam. This is impossible. This is impossible for a human being. But now using a platform like, for example, the one I've developed, which is called Exam GPT, that becomes quite easy, because the AI is able actually to handle these type of assessments, either grading the exam or also making a direct assessment for the students. Now, for example, this is a part of the dashboard that I have created some exams with the students, and we can create exam either manually. You will have a form like this. You can write your exams if you want, or another option, you can just upload your slides to the AI, and then you can make a configuration. I want to have an exam with 5 questions. The total grade is 10. The exam duration is 15. I want to have coding questions, essay questions, critical thinking questions. So here the question is not only multiple choice like in Moodle, but you can have either written questions, and the AI is able to evaluate these written questions. So afterwards, this is an example of a coding exam that I've created out of my slides, and it can help also to make continuous student assessments, even as a kind of assignments, if you don't want to use it as exams. And then the AI is able to make automatic grading of any kind of question. And the good thing is we talk about personalized learning. So here we have personalized assessment. Every student can log into his profile, the dashboard, and can go and check what was wrong with his answers. Okay, so every student is going to receive an email, is going to receive a personalized feedback. What was wrong? This is partially correct, and these are the recommendation of improvement. We are not able to do that. We usually just give a grade, and we give the students to check the count. But now with AI, you can give a personalized feedback to every student. And this is not only for form-based exams. This is only possible for handwritten exams. And this is an example of a handwritten exam where you can see we have handwritten answers, although the writing is not very clear. And the AI was able actually to extract all the handwritten answer. And beyond this, we can extract, even if there are grammatical errors or language mistakes, we can ask the AI to proofread without changing the student attendance. So you are able actually to see here and read much easier. Of course, if you want to make even manual grading, instead of reading this, which is a bit tedious, especially some of the students' scripture is very hard to understand. So you can read it as a text-based, and you can also follow the grading that was done by the AI. So the AI is going to make a systematic grading, which we call the chain of thought. It will make a complete reasoning, and then will give you a grade and say, oh, this is why I have give you a partial grade. So the student will understand here, when we send the AI feedback to the student, it will tell, okay, your answer demonstrates basic understanding. However, you fall short in providing detailed explanation as requested in the question, and this is why I gave you 0.75 out of 1.5. So here there is a clear reasoning, and I can say from the large number of exams that they've done on this, it's almost errorless. It doesn't make mistakes, only maybe in very extreme situations. But I didn't get any issues with the mistakes. And beyond this assessment, which is just grading an exam, you can have an automatic assessment of the CLOs. Look now, for example, here it will say that for this exam, CLO 1 took 675 out of 7, CLO 1.1, it was 475 out of 5, and so on. So you can have a per CLO assessment automatically without any issue. And this is for just one student, but you can do it automatically for a whole course, for a whole exam, at different granularity level. And another thing also is the compliance to the accreditation standard. Imagine that you have a course specification. You can upload your course specification. You choose what is the academic standard, whether you want to comply it with NCAA, with ABET, with ECTS for European courses. And finally, you can get a complete report. So this is the compliance rate, and this is an overview about the compliance summary, and then you will have recommended solution at every type of issue. So for example, here it says your course learning outcome must use the Bloom taxonomy or the SMART CLO with the Bloom taxonomy alignment. And based on this, also the AI can propose you some improvement on your existing course specifications, or give you different type of feedback with different scores. And you can actually make manual changes, or you can also look at the changes made by the artificial intelligence. So this is one of the services we provide also on X Education. If you have a course description, you want to make a new version that aligns with the standard, you can also help AI to proofread, to improve, or to make any changes on your current description. For example, to make sure that doesn't contain language mistakes, or it complies with existing standards. Another also thing that where we can use AI is to track the capstone projects, usually, or graduation project. Usually the supervisor, they have several students to supervise, and sometimes becomes cumbersome, receiving a lot of emails, losing track of these emails. So now this is a platform where we can actually have all the feedback of the students for the communication, uploading progress report, validating project proposals, all of them. And you can see now for the instructor, we provide an AI. So here to either generate a review with AI, or just to write a review and then use AI to elaborate it more, to write it better, and so on. So this helps the supervisor to have much better outcome while saving a lot of time and providing better insights. Look, this is an insight that was provided by AI. So usually I can write my comments very quickly as bullet points, and then I ask AI, please provide a much better response to the students based on the comments that I have provided to him. And it can make a systematic organization of these comments. What are the strengths, what are the areas of improvement, and what are these recommendations. And this also helps to manage tasks, so we can send tasks to the students, we can follow up tasks, and finally you can also have a full report about traceability of the student regularity across the whole project. So at the end we can have a dashboard that shows how many communications were with the students, whether he was regular, and they can ask the AI generate me a full report about the students and his regularity and the feedback that he has provided. And this is, you can see how much improvement. It's tremendous in terms of the level of follow-up that we can do for the students. So I'm almost done with education, just to introduce also some of the platforms that we're doing in terms of research. One of them is Review Pilot. This is a platform that is AI powered for organizing conference events or book chapters or journals or any special issue. So provide different functionalities for the chairs, like for example providing insights about the paper that is submitted and its relevance to the event, provide keywords, and provide also plagiarism check and AI content detection. Actually, this is the first platform that provides this type of AI-based solutions for improving the productivity of reviewing conferences papers. And another platform for researchers also, especially now in the universities, research is very important, and many of the faculty members or researchers or students request to have mentorship. So senior members that can help them write papers. Now AI is able to do that. We have here embedded into this platform different advanced agentic workflows to help the researcher improving their writing. You can make a review of an abstract, you can make a review of full paper, you can get comments about about according to the standards. For example, when you write an abstract, there is a standard. You must make problem statement, gap analysis, what is the contribution. So all of these were embedded into the platform using AI to provide you tangible feedback that helps maximize the quality of your paper. It provides also tools for AI content detection. So for example, if you have wrote a paper and you must make sure about this paper doesn't contain a lot of AI generated text. So you can use the tool here and it will give you, for example, this is likely to be written by AI. It's only 3% of human score. And also provide functionalities about plagiarism detection. So you can just upload the whole paper and the AI will provide you the plagiarism level and provide you all the sources from where this paper was taken. For example, here this is a plagiarism score of 90%, which is a high risk. So with this, I come to the end of my presentation. I think there is still 10 minutes for questions.
You, Dr. Anis, يعطيك العافية. Thank you for this insightful presentation. I don't know if anyone have a question. So I have two questions. Maybe my colleagues will think more about the question they want to share. So Dr. Anis, you have said in the beginning that the more we give contextual data to the platform, to any AI tool, more we receive better outcomes. So when, for example, I am working in any accreditation report, like KPI report or any standard report, how I can provide these AI tools with information related to the program, and in the same time guarantee that this information will I will let's say not have confidentiality issues when I share data related to the program or the college.
Okay, yeah, this is an excellent and very important question. Actually, regarding the confidentiality and the privacy, we need to make sure that we don't share sensitive information like we do for any other platform. Like, for example, if you are using any kind of cloud services, not necessarily AI, we will have to manually make sure that we don't disclose any information, especially if we have signed non-disclosure agreements or if there are some constraints about some sensitive data. But I think most of the educational data, like if you want to make accreditation reports and so on, if you're sharing course descriptions, which are mostly public, I don't think that there is an issue. Of course, this has to be discussed and negotiated with maybe university officials, what could be disclosed, what couldn't be disclosed. And another thing, usually when we build this platform for sensitive data, we can actually use local models, which are open source models. We can deploy them locally at the university premises. Of course, this will induce more investment in terms of infrastructure, but actually, given this infrastructure exists with some GPU machines, we can deploy open source models locally. And in this case, you can use any kind of internal data with your custom and owned large language model without to disclose into public cloud services.
Okay, thank you. Another question, can you advise us or share with us the, let's say, best appropriate platforms that can be used in accreditation and quality? For example, if I want to work on my KPI reports, so which platform you advise us to use?
Yeah, at the time being, I don't know any comprehensive platform that is doing that. So usually people are going just to provide the context to ChatGPT, Claude, or Grok, or any kind of language model manually. There is also the possibility to use Google Notebook LM, which helps you to upload all your different documents. And then you can do chatting with your documents, asking questions about accreditation. But as a unified platform, actually, this is what I'm trying currently to develop and realize with the vision of self-driving universities through the X Education platform. Now, at the time, yes.
Is available for all. We can, for example, use it, subscribe.
Yes, at the time being, we are opening accounts for with some universities. Yes, and because we are currently in the development, we have completed everything related to course management. We have completed everything related to attendance management. We are going also to include assessment management. And from there, we're going to have something more complete too. But for the moment, yes, if you want, you can send the request and we can open accounts for the university to test and try it.
Okay, so this is related to the Saudi context and the Saudi universities and programs, the platform structure.
Yeah, the platform structure is global. It includes Saudi context like NCAA accreditation, European context, American context. We have incorporated different type of accreditation standards, and you can choose among them. So you can see, for example, here, because it was deployed in Tunisia, and here it's using the European system and the Tunisian system. Okay, we can actually, and we have, for platforms with multiple accreditation requirement, there is a possibility to choose more than one accreditation requirement in terms of credit hours or assessment and so on.
Hopefully, the Professor Anis, these platforms will replace us in working in the SSR, the KPI reports, because as you know, this administrative tasks take a lot of time. And as an academician, we prefer to spend more time in research or teaching and improving our maybe knowledge in the area in which we are specialized. فإن شاء الله we hope soon that we can really use this type of platform to get better or more efficient results إن شاء الله. My last
absolutely. The ultimate goal is to make a self-study report that is 100% supported by AI. I know that it's a big hurdle for many, especially in getting the data and then analyzing the data and writing it. Now, when we have a unified platform that contains all the learning management systems, assessment, and so on, it will be very easy for AI to fill in the self-study report, and then it can be revised by faculty member instead of spending a lot of time collecting the data, writing the reports, and so on.
Yes.
Perfect. Another maybe advice that we can give as Professor Anis, I think all my colleagues maybe and me, we are asking sometimes, is it ethical to use AI to work on quality reports? Should I use it? How I can use it? Which may be risk we maybe care about the plagiarism report when we submit to the NCAA. Maybe we receive some commands that these reports have been generated by AI. So we don't know if we can use it. We have to use it carefully. Is it ethical? Is it not ethical? So I think all of us, we ask this question. So which advice you can give us?
The question of ethical, this depends on the mindset. For me, I don't even know why is it ethical to use AI. AI was developed actually to help people to increase productivity. And this is the difference between academia and business. Usually in business, they care about productivity. In academia, ethics is good, but there is nothing unethical here. We are using AI to improve the quality of these type of reports, to improve the quality of the course descriptions. According to my experience, I have seen a lot of mistakes, either in terms of language, either in terms of consistency in these course reports, in this course specification. Why do we need to continue doing the same mistakes while there are tools that will help us improving the quality? We always talk about quality. We spend a lot of time doing quality, but the quality was not realized so far. So now I think it's time to change our mindset to be more open to these tools. And of course, while being aware about their limitations or maybe threats, but we have to take benefit of them. Because at the end, what we want to do is to deliver the best teaching and learning experience to students. And believe me, all the universities that are not going to cope with these changes, they're going to be deprecated just in maybe a couple of years, let's say 5 years from now. Because this is really invasive. There are billions of dollars, or if not trillions of dollars, that are invested in this. Back in 2024, I went to CHIA conference in Washington, D.C., and everyone was talking about AI. Do you think about all this debate about AI? AI is not going to be going into universities. It's going to be in the universities.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Dr. Ghada, تفضلي.
مرحبا دكتور أنيس, thank you very much, and thank you for the informative session. I just have two questions. One regarding the comprehensive system that you said it might be unified, let's say, so it has a unified source of data, so we don't have like discrepancies in number of students or something for having more accurate data for the accreditation. My question is how easy it is to integrate the system into our current university system, because in the university we have we have the blackboard, we have the banner, we have I'm not sure if you are aware of different systems in PNU, but we have Cognis, we have different systems. How easy it is to integrate it and to use it? This is my
question that I have been asked when I present this. Of course, there are different ways of integration. Usually, institutions don't want to lose the legacy, and I can understand this. So there are different ways. The AI services could be provided as APIs or services that can be called from any existing platform. This is one of the approaches that we can provide. The second approach, which is more challenging, is to convince this institution to change to a completely new platform. Of course, this is going to go through several decision-making processes because of how can we make the migration. The migration is possible. Of course, there is a time for setting up this transition. But at the end, in the long run, when you have a unified system, at least that will gather 70%, 80% of legacy systems that are completely fragmented, you know, in the long run, you have a lot of benefits. And of course, this is not an easy decision for every institution, depending, especially very old institutions with several tens of years or hundreds of years, could be more challenging, but for others could be maybe more flexible to make even partial transition, because the transitions can be complete or partial or no. And all at the end, the AI services are available, but if we want to make the best use of them, it's better to have a unified system. And this unification can be done either at a completely or partially.
So if we go, maybe going completely or partially transitioning, it will be a costly and time consuming, and it would be a little bit risky because the AI platforms are still developing, and for a huge university, it would be difficult. However, I think if we go with an API, it would be more practical option. But I'm concerned about the ethical, or let's say the confidentiality of the system. Does it have like I think I'm just guessing if they have like a branch or based let's say local here in Saudi Arabia, offices in Saudi Arabia, this would be more easier for us to go and propose it. Yeah.
So for the first question about the ease of integration, you know, this platform was developed like an AI native platform. What does it mean? If you want to put your courses, and you know, when we made the transition with the pilot university, it was very easy. You have course specification, you just need to upload them. You're not gonna write any single character on a form. You know, we're gonna extract all your data. Even setting up a university account, you don't need to write manually any kind of data. You just provide the website of the university, we're gonna extract everything. So AI was made to facilitate any kind of transition, either uploading programs, uploading courses, entering universities, importing student information, user information, faculty information. Everything is done either AI-based or automatically. Now, for the second question about this can be deployed on premise. If you want to have a standalone version 100% deployed at Princess Noura, or locally, we have also some partner here in Saudi Arabia. They will deploy this locally here, and it can be also deployed at the university itself. That's also another option.
Okay, for the second question, I was wondering, with this AI revolution, let's say, what, from your experience, what do you recommend, like new assessment ways for students? Because even if we provide them with the tools and we tell them use the AI responsibly and to help you think, and we aware them of the possible hallucinations and However, we are in an educational institution. We want to develop their analytical thinking and not to train the machine. So what are the new ways that we can encourage our students, or our students will be motivated to use, that we can use as an assessment tools?
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, also there is a question related to the use of AI by students. So several maybe instructors or professors, they will make a complete ban about this. But you know, my perspective is that in principle we should allow the students to use AI ethically in assignments. But you know, you need to make clear boundaries. Let me just show you one of the things that I have done. You know, just yesterday I shared this with my students about making a project. And here, I don't know, I want. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So here I have clear rubrics about, this is an AI course that I'm teaching, and I put a clear strategy for the students on how to use AI. So it's not completely forbidden. For example, here for making a coding project, I allow to make code auto-completion. I allow to use LLMs for guidance, for explanations, to understand concepts, also for debugging. But I forbid them, for example, to use AI to fully generate solutions, functions, or copy-pasting large code of blocks. And of course now, these are good policies, but how to enforce them? We enforce them through AI. So now we have also some AI tools that are able to go through all the code of the students and make automatic detection whether this is a student work or an AI-generated code. Another, for the second question, which is about the assessment, yes, AI can help make different type of assessments. One of the skills that we are not assessing now our students is their communication skills. In principle, we should have, like one of the assessment, taking, instead of having handwritten exams, I would like to call the students, okay, explain me the concept that you have learned in this course, and they can ask very particular questions, because when they go to a job, they're going to make a live interview. We're not training students on making live interview. So now we have an agent, we have an AI agent that they can configure to be an expert into the course that I am teaching. And then one of the assessment, I didn't do that, but I'm going to do that just as a pilot trial. I'm going to ask the students to interact with this agent. So the agent is going to ask the student several questions about the course, and then it will make me a report. Of course, there are going to be evaluation rubrics, and I'm going to have a report about the level of understanding of the students in terms of speaking, in terms of communication, clarity of the responses, grammatical errors, correctness of the responses. This is now one of the things that we can do in AI to create new type of assessments, in addition to those that I have presented in the presentation.
Yes, I agree with you, Professor Anis. We cannot continue with the same traditional assignment that we was used to provide to the students as a project and assignment, because now all the outcomes we receive are generated by AI, and in the same time we cannot punish, let's say, the students because they use it, and we are not using, let's say, customized methods now based on the revolution of AI in education. So we need also to have another revolution in the way to provide our or to give assignment and project to the students. We cannot continue with the traditional way.
Yeah, that's true. But you know, if you are receiving responses generated by AI from your students, did you give them what are the boundary of using AI? Were there any awareness? Believe me that the awareness is the most important thing that the instructor and the teacher has to do. You need to provide clear, but if you say AI cannot be utilized, you know, احنا نقول الممنوع مرغوب. Just provide the boundaries. Provide the boundaries and say, look, if you provide, like I've done with the students, I say, if you provide any AI generated code, I am by myself an AI detector. Or there are so many AI detectors that you can use, either for coding or for writing and so on. But we need to provide, you know, the boundary. For example, the students will provide you a report that is full of mistakes. So I can say, okay, you can use LLM just to proofread. Ask the LLM proofread the report. Don't generate new ideas. Make your ideas and let the LLM improve your writing skills. That's one of the legitimate, at least to me, one of the legitimate utilization of AI in the student project. But I won't accept that a student will take just, I told the students, you can take the code and ask any LLM to generate the full solution. But this is not the purpose. And one of the things that I've done is to link these projects or assignments into the final exams. So for example, whoever just solved this project with AI, I'm going to make deep questions in the final exam about this project. So I'm not going to be able to answer. Okay, because now you can think about AI now, it's like outsourcing to companies to solve project students like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But this is the cheapest solution for them.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, so Dr. Anis, are these tools in detecting AI, are they reliable? Because what I understand so far is the detecting AI is not 100%, it's not like accurate as the plagiarism tools. So I can't, let's say, claim that this is, sometimes I write something myself and I use this tool and it shows me that it is, for example, AI generated while I wrote it by myself. So I'm not sure how accurate it is, especially if we're going to assess the student work.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I just have a paper that's going to appear in December in SmartTech conference that is called the AI lie detector. Which means that these AI tools can actually lie in terms of detection, and we made a comparison between different tools like Turnitin and different Zero GPT and so on. There is a discrepancy into the conclusion that they may have. But does this mean that we can not rely on these tools? There is difference between relying and over relying. So at the end, we would like to minimize or to maximize the confidence about whether this is AI generated or not. So one of the things you can use multiple AI tools, and just warn the students. I always say that studying awareness is the key to prevent this, because otherwise, when you warn them in advance and use this AI tool to detect, even if it is not 100% correct, you will have some ground to debate with the students that there is a likelihood. There is no certainty, but there is a likelihood, and when there is a likelihood, we need to investigate about this. So the student will be actually reluctant, and they will be cautious about, just dummy using these type of tools without any oversight. So this is my perspective on the topic.
Thank you so much, Professor Anis, for your contribution and the responses you provided to us today. Anyone have any question more?